Monday.com AI agents took over my work, and I absolutely love it. Chasing deadlines, writing status reports, updating stakeholders. Agents handle the daily grind now. I stay in the loop only when it matters. Create your own AI agent in minutes on Monday.com.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, JoAnn Crone. Hello, my Lolas. It is so good to be with you today. Today, we're getting into a topic that's a little touchy. It's all about feeling judged by others and being motivated, not for the sake of that we actually want to do the thing, but we're actually afraid how others will judge us if we do or we don't do the thing. So we're going to be getting into some nitty-gritty kind of things. We're going to be talking about something called thought distortions. Have you heard of these? These are ways that we've accepted of thinking, but they may not necessarily be true. Things like, I'm dumb or I can't do that. Those are typical thought distortions. I'm going to talk about how these relate to feeling judged by others and what you can do about them, how you can kind of counter them. I'm actually also going to tell you a story about how I stopped complying out of fear with something professionally and the backlash associated with it, which was like all of my worst nightmares. So you're going to hear how that panned out. And then I'm going to show you another way that you can look at things so that you are not so controlled by what you feel other people's perceptions of you may be. You're going to end this episode knowing exactly who you're trying to impress. Is it your mother-in-law? Is it your grandma who always has the judgy opinions? Is it those moms from school who tend to look at you a certain way? You're going to have a way to reframe all that so that you can live a lot more confidently and you have a better impact too on your kids because you can show them that they could go out into the world and live fearlessly as well. So let's all be no guilt moms and let's get on with the show. Can I paint a picture for you and let me know if this sounds familiar? Okay, so you're doing laundry, but it's not just your laundry. You do your entire family's laundry. You're washing it, you're drying it, you're laying it out flat. I mean, when somebody asks you how much laundry you do, you're like, I try to keep it at 1 or 2 loads a day. You're doing everything because you tell yourself, the wrinkles bother me. It bothers me if people don't have clean clothes. It bothers me if my family have wrinkled clothing. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this voice that tells you that this is just what you have to do. This is just what you have to live with. This is how it should be. So let me ask you something else. What would happen if you didn't do it? What if your eldest son's shirt had wrinkles? What if your husband went to work and his pants were a little dirty? What if your kid walked out the door and their clothes weren't perfectly pressed and they looked completely neat? Who would judge you? And I'm sure if you're like most people, you can think of a million places that you'd be judged. As I said before, the PTA moms, your own mom, your grandmother. But really take a second with it because when I ask this question, the first answer is almost never a real person. It's usually something like, well, women get judged more harshly than men, which is very true, by the way. There is like 100% truth in that statement, and it is completely unfair. Or maybe you would be thinking it's people would notice, or other moms would think something, or they would be talking behind my back. But when I push and I ask you, okay, give me a name, try to give me a name, you may not be able to give me one right off the top of your head. And then maybe a name comes up. And for you, it might be those PTA moms. And for a lot of women, the person they name, they don't really know very well. Or perhaps this person who is constantly critiquing them may not live to those higher standards that they are telling you you should live by. I mean, I can think of a great example of this when I was living with my parents when I was younger. My dad would tell me, oh, JoAnn, you need to put away everything in its place. Everything should have a home. And then I would go and look at his office and it looked like a bomb had went off. You know, you have those kind of things where it lives rent-free in your mind, this comment And then that person doesn't live up to the expectations. And yet that voice has been quietly running your life and possibly a lot more than that. So today we're going to talk about why this is and why we contort our lives around these judges and what happens when we finally stop. When we talk about other people will judge me, we are doing something that's called a thought distortion. And this is something that I coach my clients in and help them realize. I love to use NLP, which stands for neuro-linguistic programming. All that really means is how language affects our brain, how the way we talk about ourselves really affects the way that we behave and the way we act. And we can change our emotional states just by changing the language we use. It's a fascinating thing. So this particular thought distortion is called a generalization. And it's when we take one experience or fear of an experience and we expand it into a rule about how the whole world works. So for example, when you say people will judge me, something that I always push back on, and I ask you to answer these questions for me now, like which people? Who's judging you? Are all of them judging you? Are most of them judging you? Are there people in there who wouldn't be judging you? Are there 3 specific women at work from an event you attended once? I mean, and don't get me wrong, like usually these generalizations are formed from a very uncomfortable and like little t traumatic experience. I have one of them when I was a teacher and I was told that another teacher had started calling me the upstairs boss. If you have listened to this podcast, you have heard the story before. But upstairs, because my classroom was on the second floor, like real creative, right? Real creative. And boss, because I tended to take control of things. I like to give ideas of things. And that one statement, I expanded a bit, not like wonderfully. I wish I wouldn't do this. I wish my brain didn't do this, but everybody's brain does. I expanded it to think that I was bossy. And that bossy, that was a real old wound. In fact, I'm working through that wound in therapy right now. What's the cool thing about being bossy is that I've renamed my bossy self. Her name is Queenie. Queenie's actually pretty badass. She is. And I'm trying to let her come out more often because she's been pushed down by these generalizations of me not wanting to be bossy. It is a wound that hurts me so much. In fact, anything somebody says about me, such as like I'm harsh or like, especially when I ask for things or I try to be the boss, if somebody tells me I'm harsh or I'm mean, I take that, oh my gosh, internally it hits me so hard. Like it makes me doubt all of my capabilities. And this is something that I have recently become aware of. And I'm sharing this with you with the hopes that you are thinking right now of something in your life that you've told yourself you are, or you've told yourself this is the way it has to be done. And it's really affecting you. It is stopping you from showing up for your kids in the way that you want to show up for them. It is affecting you by not letting you meet your absolute potential because you're holding yourself back. Okay, here's another generalization. Women are judged more harshly. Yes, that is totally true, but also by who? Who are women judged more harshly by? And when I ask that, do not say other women. Give me a name. Give me a person that you have talked to who judges you harshly. And I'm not saying that person doesn't exist. I bet they do. And I bet you don't like them. But once you're able to think of a name, you're actually able to problem solve that scenario. Such as if Sheila at school judges you, okay, well, how are you going to react now to Sheila? Like, what's your game plan going to be when you encounter Sheila? Versus if you say women are judged more harshly, you can't really think of any solution to solve that problem because it's just so general. So this is what we're doing here. I'm not saying that your generalizations are wrong. What I'm saying is that when you can find a specific person, you can problem solve and you can brainstorm some solutions that'll work for you. Here's another one. Everyone expects this of me. I mean, how many times do you say that in terms of your family? Like, everyone expects me to cook dinner. I mean, I'm guilty, totally. But the word everyone should be a signal to stop and ask, Who exactly expects me to do this? Do my kids expect me to make dinner? They don't. They would be much happier if I door dashed for them. Does my husband expect me to make dinner? Not really. I mean, he loves it when I do and there's food waiting for him, but it's not so much of an expectation as an agreed upon arrangement. So when we think about this and when we say everyone expects this of me, get granular. Who expects this of you? And then from then you could really dial it in and figure out solutions. Here's the other thing you can do when you dial it into a specific person. And this question might seem a little harsh. It really might. But ask yourself, do I actually respect this person's opinion? Do I want to be like them? Do I want their life? What effect does this person have on you? Going back to being called upstairs boss by another teacher, if I had asked myself this question at that time, I'd be like, no, this teacher, like I know other coworkers who have complained about that teacher, saying how mean they are to them. So I would be like, no, this teacher is just taking others down because that's how she feels good about herself. I mean, there are people like that. Asking yourself that question really helps you notice whether this is something that you want to follow. If it is, great. But if it's something that you feel a little bit resentful about, or if it's something that you tend to vent a lot about, oh, I gotta tell you, friend, you don't want this. You don't want this. And that's okay. It is totally okay not to want to do a chore that your entire family, quote unquote, expects you to do. I can tell you something about laundry in my house, just to give you some options if you struggle with the laundry issue yourself. I do not do people's laundry. We stopped, my son was 7, I think, when we stopped doing his laundry and let him take more control over his laundry. And my daughter, we did it around the same time. She, of course, she's 17. She's getting ready to go off to college. She is completely self-sufficient in the laundry department. I have not touched her laundry in years. My son, also self-sufficient in the laundry department. Are things put away? No, but he's happy. He likes things the way they are. And his room, while it's not my chosen method of organization, it works for him. It works for him. So the big part is I don't have it on my mental load. And he is learning how to take care of that himself to the degree he wants to take care of it. My husband, he also does his own laundry. I don't touch it either. He's a little neater than me, guys. He folds all his stuff real nicely. If you looked inside his drawers, they're all like nice folded piles, organized in rows. If you looked in my drawers, they would be mostly empty because I have to definitely weed through my clothing choices so that I'm able to keep it neat in my drawers. And I do like the Marie Kondo folding method where it's in thirds and then I roll it up so I can see everything. I'm very much a visual organizer, whereas I have to see things else I forget they exist. I learned that through the podcast interview that I did with Cass Ayerson of Clutterbug. I will link that in the show notes. If you also have a hard time with organization, you're going to find it very, very helpful. But that's how laundry is in my house. I only take care of my own laundry and everybody else takes care of theirs. When I look at wrinkled shirts, do they bother me? Yeah, they do. Yeah, they bother me. I may offer a little helpful suggestion such as, hey, you want me to show you a way to get those wrinkles out of your shirt? But then when my child says no, I respect that and I back off because ultimately it is their body and it is their clothes and it is how they want to go about things. We're not dealing with anything with like smells or like wearing dirty clothing over and over. Like these are clean clothes we're talking about. Just a little wrinkle. Just a little wrinkled. If there were dirty clothes, there would be more of my involvement in actually making sure my kids did their laundry. I'll just leave it there just in case you're listening and you're like, JoAnn, my child would walk around smelling and I would get phone calls from school. I know. I would be totally involved if that was the problem as well in my house. You know, when you're just balancing all the things and somewhere in the chaos, you're still trying to figure out if your kids are actually getting their nutritional needs met? Yes, that was me. And honestly, that's how I found First Day, and it just simplified everything. Here's what got me. They actually make different formulas for toddlers, kids, teens, and adults. So it's tailored to your stage of life. My 13-year-old son isn't getting the same thing I am at 44 because what he needs and what I need are genuinely not the same. Finally, a brand that gets that. We're talking a blend of 21 organic superfoods and 9 key vitamins. No artificial dyes, no added sugars, nothing unnecessary. They test for over 200 toxins and have the Clean Label Purity Award. So I'm not second guessing what I'm putting in my family's bodies. It's just 2 gummies a day, which honestly makes it so easy to stay consistent. Over 1 million families use First Day, and they have a 45-day money-back guarantee. It just takes the guesswork out of it completely. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting an insane deal. Use code NGM to get up to 57% off at firstday.com. That's up to 57% off and a free gift with code NGM at firstday.com. After you purchase, they will ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. You know what I love about a new school year? That feeling of possibility. Like this could be the year everything just clicks for your kid. And if you've been thinking there might be a different path that fits your child better, I want you to know about K-12 powered schools. They offer tuition-free accredited online public school for kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. And they genuinely get that not every kid thrives the same way. K-12 meets your child where they are with dedicated teachers trained in virtual instruction who give real-time support, flexible options tailored to your child's needs and goals, and a real online community with extracurricular activities so your kid can connect with peers and explore what lights them up. K-12 has been doing this for over 25 years. And the best part, you can enroll anytime during the school year. So if now is the moment your family is ready for something new, this is your sign. See how K-12 powered schools can help unlock your child's full potential. Enroll online today at k12.com/NGM. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/NGM. K12.com/NGM. If you're a parent, it is so easy to get overwhelmed and you know how your own mental health always comes last. I felt that hard when my daughter was deep into competitive dance. 3-hour rehearsals multiple times a week, and in between, I was taking care of my son. I felt like a taxi driver running on fumes, and still trying to be present for everyone was a total no-go. Those are the moments where I really need someone to talk to, and honestly, those are the moments I usually let slip the most. I go to therapy, and it has genuinely changed how I show up. It's helped me understand why I react the way I do, step outside myself in moments of stress, and let go of so much shame I didn't even realize I was carrying. What I love about Rula is that they make it so much easier to actually get that support. They're a healthcare company that partners with over 120 insurance plans, so therapy doesn't feel like this huge financial stretch. The average copay is just $15 a session, and they match you with a therapist based on what you actually need, not just whoever has an opening, with appointments often available as soon as tomorrow. Thousands of parents are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that's actually covered by insurance, helping them show up for their families. And so can you. Visit rula.com/NGM to get started. That's RULA.com/NGM. Okay, so we talked about 2 things. We talked about those generalizations and how to question yourself in them. And then we just talked about once you name the person, do you actually respect this person's opinion? Do you actually want to be like this person? And then that will give you more solutions, feedback as to whether you want to accept this advice into your life. There are a lot more places this fear of judgment shows up, like other than laundry. I used to be really afraid of saying no to people. You might be in the same boat as well, especially with the podcast. Podcast guests would be pitched to me. I'd be like, well, I don't know if it really fits, but they're really popular and they're doing cool things. I'll have them on. And then those podcast episodes wouldn't be really listened to. And probably you as a podcast audience would think, okay, like this is an odd choice, JoAnn. I have been really dialing in the podcast lately. I've been making sure that our guests are typically people who have books coming out, but who can speak really from an expert viewpoint on things that are psychology related, on things that are parenting related. And they're always topics that I am insanely interested in, whether it is confidence or motivation, because I think that to make a good podcast episode for you, I need to be very, very invested in the topic. So I pull out as much as possible from our guest, right? So there was something that happened to me just last week, and it was a hard situation. I had an interview scheduled, and I was looking at this person, and I was looking at what you really like, what you respond to, and I realized this wasn't the right fit. It's not going to serve my listeners. I am not looking forward to having this interview because I know it's not the right fit. Not that there was anything wrong with the person I was interviewing. I really respected this person and I'm following this person. But I also told myself, I need to cancel this interview. I need to cancel it. And I was really terrified, not because I thought I was making the wrong call. I knew I was making the right one, but I was terrified about how it would be received. I was afraid of being seen as unprofessional or as difficult or as flaky or as unkind. You know, I mentioned before when anyone calls me mean or like it hits me right to my core, right to my core. I was afraid that this person would be hurt and that they would make me the bad guy. But I sent the email anyways. It was short. It was warm. It was honest. I basically said exactly what I told you. Hey, like, I really admire you. I have been looking at my podcast data and I'm realizing like this episode, it won't fit with my audience. And I don't want to waste your time in having this interview where I know this podcast episode won't serve you well. So I'm going to cancel, but I'm going to be, watching you and cheering you on, like all those things. And all true. The next morning, I got back the response and it stung. Like I felt it was a parting shot because they made a jab at my podcast name. They said that, oh, this is odd. And then they just signed off, take care. Initially, I felt really bad. My heart rate increased. I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was afraid that was going to happen. My husband was traveling at the time, so I called him up and I was trying to verbally hash it through with him. I read him the response and he said, well, it looks like you made the right decision. And I agreed with him because no one I want to be professionally involved with would take a parting shot at me if I was just honest and kind. If someone sent me that same email, first I would be curious. I'd be like, what kind of episodes do your listeners respond to? Maybe we can make something about that. I would find a way to get in if it was possible. And I would say hey, I really enjoy your show. Thank you so much for thinking of me. I hope our paths cross in the future. I might not be able to make that email immediately because I would have some emotions to deal with for sure. I would feel that rejection to my core, but I would make that email eventually and I wouldn't lash out with a jab. That's just not in my personality. I hope to make more friends and more people who would be in that same kind of mindset with me. But it told me a lot. And it showed me that the way that someone responds when they don't get what they want tells you a lot about who they are. And I realized that I didn't want to be associated with that energy. I didn't want it on my show. I made the right call. This is something that nobody tells you when you start taking these actions that you feel will be judged by other people. You are afraid, for sure. You don't always get the best result, but you get the clear result. You no longer wonder, is this the right person for me? You get that complete confirmation. yes, this is a person I want to try to work with in the future, or no, I'm going to stay clear of this person until some other point in time. And I got that. I got that. And so I just want to share that with you when you're afraid of being judged by people. The people who do judge you, you will find really, really fast that those people just aren't for you. And you don't want to be associated with them either. This comes for friends as well. I've had friendships in my life where I was walking on eggshells, where I was like monitoring everything I said. I was guessing what the other person wanted to hear. I was editing myself constantly so they wouldn't be upset with me. And when those friendships ended, for whatever reason, something really unexpected happened. I felt sad. I grieved. I'm still grieving friendships lost, but I also felt free. I felt free from having to mask anymore. And with that, my confidence went up. So sadness and rejection isn't the end. It's actually this step into, I don't want to sound cheesy here, but this is going to sound really cheesy. I laugh at myself even as I'm considering saying this out loud, but I will. It's a beautiful new beginning, like a butterfly. It's the start of being like, yes, this is something I no longer want in my life. I want relationships where people don't lash back at me, where they tell the honest truth, yes, and sometimes the truth can hurt, but they never say it to hurt me because they feel rejected. That's like one of my core values. I do not say stuff to make people feel rejected. It is something that I've been working on for a very, very, very long time. I feel like now that I'm 44, I do have it just because I've had it done to me so often that I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person who lashes out at others. I don't want to be that person who says stuff behind people's back. I used to. I really did. But not anymore. And that's what I'm looking for as well. So just know, if you're afraid of being judged, say your piece. Say everything you want to say because it gives you so much clarity. I want to talk about the moment I became a laundry sauce person. I was walking through my house and I just stopped because the whole laundry area smelled incredible. Not like laundry detergent incredible, like you just walked into a really nice hotel incredible. And that was it. So here's the thing about laundry sauce. These are premium scented laundry pods made with fine fragrances from the world's top perfumers. We're talking scents like Australian sandalwood, Italian bergamot, and a new limited edition Brazilian vanilla. And the scent lasts until your next laundry day. When I pull clothes out of the dryer, my first thought is genuinely, oh my gosh, this smells amazing. And the pods, they're pre-measured, pop them in, done. No lid, no guessing, no mess. Plus, they're packed with bioenzymes that actually obliterate stains from all the very summery things your family gets into. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use code NOGUILT at laundrysauce.com. That's 20% off your entire order at laundrysauce.com with promo code NOGUILT. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. It's time to make laundry day the best day of the week. This summer, I want our family to actually spend time together in ways that matter to us, not just default to whatever's easiest. And that got me thinking about something. Ease and cost aren't the same thing. So we sat down and we got intentional about where our money was actually going. That's when Monarch showed us how much we were spending on subscriptions and how much we were using meal delivery services. That's money that could become a family trip. Monarch is the personal finance app that tracks everything: accounts, investments, savings goals, and spending. Get your first year of Monarch Core for half off, just $50 with promo code NOGUILT. And honestly, it has taken the mental load of tracking my finances completely off my plate. I sign up for a lot of memberships, more than I'd like to admit, and Monarch catches every single recurring fee and flags it for me, so nothing slips through quietly. The AI weekly recap is my favorite because every week it shows me what shifted with my spending before it becomes an actual problem. Use code NOGUILT at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code NOGUILT.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Now let's get into a little way that you can look at things so that this judgment doesn't hit you so hard. It's all about perspective on a situation. I love to teach my inner circle members about first person, second person, and third person. So this is all about your thoughts. Let me go through it with you one by one. First person is your thoughts. It is everything happening inside your head. It is like, I like that. I don't like that. I don't like it when my child screams at me, or I really don't like putting my hands in soapy water and washing the dishes, stuff like that. Things that you know inherently because you are in your body and you are getting the feelings. And this is where most of us live most of the time, inside our own narrative, treating our interpretation as fact. And that's okay. Using first person, they're all our feelings. We know it very, very well. Now, though, where we make the mistake and where we tend to feel those thoughts where we might feel rejected by somebody or slighted by somebody, even though they haven't said anything, such as, the PTA moms or your mother-in-law, although some mother-in-laws do say stuff right to your face. My mother-in-law doesn't. She's lovely. That is second person. Second person is you think it's fact what is going on in the other person's head. You are viewing their behaviors as meaning something else. For example, I could look at, one of my kids' behaviors. If they're short with me, I'm like, oh, they're mad at me. Them being mad at me is my interpretation. That is the second person. That is me trying to read their mind. I cannot read minds. We get into trouble with this a lot when we're trying to guess what's happening in a situation. The whole podcast interview thing. I'm sure this guest might have had thoughts in the second person, like she doesn't like me, or she's odd, or she's doing this because she thinks I'm stupid. Some of those thoughts may not even have been conscious thoughts. But you may do this right now too. Do you think that everyone's talking about you when you walk into a room? Do you think that somebody is saying bad things about you? Do you think that somebody hates you because of the tone they use with you? Do you say somebody disrespects you because of certain things they've done, but there's never been that conversation about the respect? Or maybe you've talked to them about it and they've said, no, I don't disrespect you. Here's what's going on. This is all second person. This is the mind reading. We can't mind read. I would love to tell you we can. Wouldn't that be great? But we can't. So if you're finding that you're stuck in that second person point of view, this is where a lot of our fears of rejection and our fears of judgment come from. Now, let's talk about the third person though. This is the outside observer. The third person is somebody who's viewing the actions and anyone else would be like, yep, that happened. For example, oh, that teen raised her voice at her mother while she was speaking to her. And you'd be like, did that happen? Yes, I think that did happen. Or the man left his jacket on the chair and then went out of the room. Did that happen? Yes, of course. Now, here's what happens when you attach second person to it. Second person, remember, is the interpretation. It is you asking why the other person did the thing. And it'd be like, oh, my husband expects me to clean up after him, that he just leaves his stuff around. Do you see how those two differ? One is left a jacket on a chair and left the room. The other is he expects me to do all the things. Which one leads to a stronger reaction? Probably that second person one, right? That interpretation. So this is how I want you to think about things when you feel like you're going to be judged. So, for example, in the first person point of view, you could look at a shirt and be like, oh, that shirt's wrinkled. Okay. That's your point of view. It's wrinkled. Great. The second person point of view would be like, everybody's going to judge me because it's wrinkled. That's your mind reading into everyone else's head. Remember, you can't do that. You don't have that skill, friend. I wish we did. And then the third person would probably actually, in this case, relate to the first person. Like, it's not always a perfect thing. The shirt is wrinkled. It's wrinkled. But let me add to that first person a little bit. Perhaps the first person would be like, I feel scared that shirt is wrinkled. That would be a totally honest first person point of view. So here's your challenge. I want you to notice in your life, when are you using that second person point of view? When are you trying to mind read? When are you maybe going to be better served by thinking that third person point of view instead? As we end this episode, I want to leave you with this final thought to take with you, because many of us haven't been taught this, and it is not your fault if somebody doesn't like you. It is not your failure. It is not something you did wrong. It is maybe a mismatch of values or a misreading of your behavior, or just the simple reality that not every person is going to connect with every other person. And that is completely okay. I think we've all been fed this false narrative that to be a worthwhile human being or a woman, that you need to be completely likable. And I want to just dispel that, because it keeps you trapped in this behavior that's not even your own. You're just guessing at what other people want. And instead, I want to encourage you to turn into your own values. The question isn't, how do I make sure everybody approves of me? The question is actually, who do I actually like? Who do I want to spend time with? Whose behavior do I respect? Who do I want in my life? Who gives me energy? Who makes you feel seen? Who makes you feel whole? Who are you fully yourself around? That's what I want you to pay attention to. Those are your people. And you only find them by being yourself clearly enough so that the wrong people self-select out. And I know how absolutely scary that is and that sounds. And I want to say that this is something that the inner circle here at No Guilt Mom is wonderful for, because you're with women who are so accepting and are living so out loud and are really honest and vulnerable with each other, that you start to realize who your people are and you start being accepted for who you are. I think that's the really important thing. When you're accepted for who you are, you feel whole and you feel like you belong. So as a quick recap, people who judge you, people will judge me. That's a generalization. I want you to name the actual person who you think is going to judge you. Ask if you respect their opinion, and then you can figure out some problem solving around it. And the judge is usually either no one real or someone whose opinion you don't actually value, just to put that out there. Other thing I want you to leave with is that I know you can't mind read. You can't do it. I'm so sorry. You can't do it. Try to instead concentrate on your own feelings in that first person perspective and the objective point of view with no interpretation attached. And confidence doesn't come from getting everything right. It comes from doing it anyway and surviving through it. And from there, you get a little bit more clear about what you actually want. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. If you're on Spotify, can you hit that follow button right now? It's the best way to make sure you never miss an episode, and it helps me reach more moms like you. And so remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. I'll talk with you later.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.